it, I'm ready to do it, I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now, I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real, I'm feeling so ruthless. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Yeah. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made of. Get in the game, your moment of fame, show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up, it's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, nothing can keep me from reaching the top. This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride. I'm ready to throw down, it's time for the showdown. I'm ready to rise, don't be surprised, I'll take on the world now. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Hello and welcome to the 7th round of the Sim Racers Asia GT4 series live on Apex Racing TV. We're here at Road Atlanta, 4.06 kilometer circuit, and we've got a fairly decent track temperature today. It's about 26 degrees, which should make for some good racing today. I'm Dane Baird, and joining me in the commentary box is Brad Clenk, and we've got Scott Newton controlling the cameras and the overlay. So Brad, how are you going?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks, Dane, for the intro there. Looking forward to this. Road Atlanta is one of my favourite tracks on iRacing, so it always provides some pretty entertaining racing. And these new, the new Porsche Cayman GT4 cars, pretty close racing with these guys usually as well. So should see some pretty juicy action around this little twisty layout here at Road Atlanta.
They've also got that very long back straight, which should provide us some good overtaking opportunities, I'm sure, into that hard braking zone for the chicane. We've got a couple drivers spinning around, and I'm expecting to see more of that. Their cold tyres are not going to be helping them at all with the new tyre model. No grip on cold tyres. So the first few laps are going to be very interesting. They do have a full pace lap here at Road Atlanta, which is going to help them out quite a bit. And we've got the championship standings after 6 rounds of the series on the screen now. Leonardo Oliveira for Macau Sim Racing Team absolutely flying away for the win so far with 234 points. And with my quick maths, that's about 70-point lead over Eric Wong in 2nd position. Ahmed Nourizam in 3rd with Simon Sanchez in 4th position. We've got Ryan Lam, Samuel Chang, Calix Boone, Mohamed Gandor. We've got Jazreen Jali, Wai-Yin Long, Ferris Stanley, Kevin Huang, Wanchi Lee, Cassidis Tumkunaran. Then we've got Saiful Arafin, Thanaroj Tanasit Nitikate, Felipe Choi, and Chen Chen Zhang in 18th position, down with 63 points. In the midfield, quite a few drivers are separated by not too many points, so that should be interesting with only 3 rounds, including this one, left of the championship, Brad.
Yeah, it looks like even though Oliveira's got a pretty sizable lead there, there's some pretty close battles through the rest of the field there, and everyone will be trying to get themselves further up in the points tally as they get towards the tail end of the championship. I think there was about 3 or 4 guys there within 5 points in the midfield, so they'll be keeping a close eye on each other and trying to outpace each other in qualifying to get that advantage as well. What we're discussing pre-race was the fuel around here as well, and it sounds like it's going to be real touch and go as to whether the guys maintaining quite fast laps will be able to get there without doing a splash and dash at the end. So it's going to be interesting to see if people sort of go out on all-out attack mode to try and get a bit of a gap and keep in mind that they might have to do that splash towards the end, or if they're going to just try and maintain and manage that throughout the race.
Yeah, we did see that 2 weeks to go if the viewers cast their minds back to the historic Silverstone event where all of the top 6 or 7 drivers pitted for fuel on their last lap, which was very interesting to see, and Eric Wong managed to go and take the win in that round after being 6th position on the start of the final lap, which was very unprecedented events. We didn't really realize that was going to happen, but it did, and we are prepared this round, and it looks like we've got the grid from qualifying with Leonardo Oliveira once again on pole position. You can see the drivers gridding up in the background. Calix Poon in 2nd position with Eric Wong in 3rd, Kevin Huang taking 4th on the grid, Jazreen Jali in 5th, and we've got Ryan Lam in 6th position, Felipe Choi in 7th, Ahmed Nourizam in 8th, Saiful Arafin in 9th, and Simon Sanchez in 10th position. And we've got Singer Gandor in the top 12, just about a second behind the leader. Then we've got Long, Wansi Ling, Dane Ksnesnik, then we've got Castadis Timkunarong, Altamarit, then we've got Chan Chan, Pratima, Cloet, Nasli, Singer, and Mark Langer, the organizer. And then we've got Irsiad in 24th position. And we've got Leong and Hazim. Leong must have made a mistake on their lap because they're 12.5 seconds down, and Hazim did not set a lap the Malaysian driver in the number 21 car, starting right at the back of the grid.
Yeah, interesting. That gap for pole in the end ended up being less than a tenth. So Oliveira might have a little bit of pressure perhaps this time around.
Yeah, it might not be a dominating performance as we've seen so far in this series, as the pace car pulls away and they start the full pace lap here at Road Atlanta. We can get a good look at what the drivers are going to be facing for today's event. Oliveira not too keen to get going. He's held back quite a bit, I think, trying to get some heat into those tires and brakes. That's very important in these cars, especially at Road Atlanta. Lots of tricky corners at the start of the lap, so if you don't have heat in your tires, that's going to be spin territory there.
Yeah, it's that tricky corner through 2 and 3 there at the top of the hill. You're kind of shifting the weight of the car and heading over the crest at the same time, so braking as the car gets light at the top of the hill as well. So definitely one of the more challenging sections of the track, and you want to try and have some tire temperature before you head round that on the first lap there. So keep an eye out for a bit of action heading up over that crest on the first lap. Deceivingly tricky car to drive this. A lot of people, I think, expected it to be a little easier and more predictable than it is, because it does have the driver aids in stability control and TC and ABS. But I actually find it easier to drive myself when I actually turn the driver aids off. I find it's a little bit more intuitive to drive with them off, but unfortunately, when you have them all off, you can't really be competitive on most tracks because you kind of need the ABS to compete with the other drivers who are running it. So it's yeah, I think some of the way that the stability control kicks in, it makes it a little counterintuitive to drive sometimes. But these guys, no doubt, have got quite a few laps under their belts with the car now, and it's starting to get pretty attuned to it. But it can rotate quite easily. They're not a huge car, the Cayman, and the wheelbase is not too long, so it can rotate quite easily.
I think a lot of people were expecting to be a bit of a slower GT3 car, but it seems to me, at least when I drive it, it's more like the Porsche Cup car, as Oliveira is going to hold them back. And he's going now, the pace car pulls away, and we are green at Road Atlanta for 45 minutes of racing. It's a good start from Oliveira. He's instantly got a half a second gap, some drivers going side by side in the background, but it's Oliveira that leads, no position changes in the front. But who's this? This is Jolly getting Ryan Lamb even getting ahead of Jolly up ahead, and we've got a spin. Who is that? Sanchez. I think there might have been some contact as well. That Sanchez there spun around down into 24th position. I believe there was someone else involved in that one as well. Might have been Jolly. Jolly's dropping down the order as well. I think something's happened to him. You can see him at the top of the screen coming down through the S's, and there's another driver off as well. So lots of incidents at the start of the race. Hopefully we can get some replays of that once the first lap is finished.
Yeah, it looked like the top 10 also settled down to single file as they come across the line there, but then a couple of them decided to go too wide into that first sector, and it doesn't always end well when you're on cold tyres.
Exactly, and Eric Wong trying to maintain the gap between himself and Oliveira. He's trying not to let that gap get too large. The Porsche Cayman cars, they don't have the biggest amount of downforce in the world, which also means there's not a lot of draft for the drivers to work with. There is some there, but it's not as helpful as, say, Formula cars would be, or even GT3 cars have got quite a bit more draft than these ones. But here's a bit of a developing battle. This is Huang just behind Kax Boom, riding on board with the number 4 driver for Goliath Racing Team. So Oliveira starts off the event with a 131.6. And what we were hearing from the organisers earlier on, Brad, is that if they can consistently lap below 1 minute 30, then it's going to be tight on fuel.
Yeah, we'll see what these lap times are once they get up to speed with the tyres over the next couple of laps. See what rhythm they start setting. a couple of the drivers might be trying to play the long game on that already, having seen what happened in the previous round. So the front few just getting away, but we've got a pretty tight train here heading up through the S's and around turn 5 up over the hill here. So you can see Charlie's down in this group after starting further up towards the front, had that issue during the first lap, but has been able to get back into a rhythm now and into this train. So we might be able to see him work his way through on this train of cars in front once he gets back into his sort of comfortable pace.
Definitely started up in 5th position, instantly overtaken by Ryan Lamb, and then I'm not too sure what happened to him, but it was at the top of the crest before the S's on the first few corners of the lap that he dropped all the way down to 13th position. Eric Wong sets a new purple lap of the race. That's a 1:27.2. It's instantly faster than what the first lap was by about 4 seconds as well. So this is, according to the organisers, going to be very tight on fuel. Then if they're setting such quick lap times early on in the race, they're only going to go down.
So Oliveira's gone out to just under a second lead now, but you can see Wong's still trying to keep within that second there. The draft on these cars, you really need to be within about sort of 0.6 thereabouts for it to be effective. So even though he's only a few car lengths back there heading into the corner, it probably won't be much of a slipstream effect for him. We can see the guys in rear of shot. We've got Poon, Huang and Lam. They're all quite close together, and those cars will be getting a bit of a benefit. You can see Wong is able to bring it down a little bit, just down there. It's about a 1/10.5 he was able to gain. So head down into 10A and 10B at the chicane. So that's encouraging. He has been able to close that gap a little bit there. Oliveira will have a bit of work to do this week from the looks of it.
Yeah, it's not going to be as easy as he's found it in the first few rounds. Although he does set a new fastest lap. And oh, who's that at the background there?
I think that
Looks
was
like
Choi. That was a very hard hit into the outside wall on the exit of 12.
Has he
Might be
maybe
able to have a look
touched
at that.
the grass?
Oh yeah, and he just could not get it back.
Yeah, he's just lost it, and then that took him onto the grass. And once you're on the grass with the new tyre model, you are heading in a straight line. It really does not like to turn, this car, once you touch the grass. Let's see what happens there. It looks like he just loses it over the crest, and then that sends him into the grass, and that is a really hard hit into the barrier. You can see he was on the brakes the entire time, and the car just did not slow down.
To our battle for third place here. This is Lam in 5th, trying to chase down Huang and Poon in front, and there's still sort of just a couple car lengths between them. If they're smart, they might just try to stay in this order and work together, because if the guys at the front do start battling a little closer or making a couple of errors, they could potentially try and stay in touch with them at the early part of the race and save the battling until later. We just cut to a battle here. This is the guys down 14th, 15th and 16th, I believe. And yeah, they're not worried about trying to tack onto the leaders. They're going too wide in into that chicane and trying to make some moves. So it's good to see there's some close fighting right through the middle part of the field here. Jali has actually come into the pits. So that's interesting, because he was just ahead of these guys in that sort of 12th or 13th position not so long ago.
Yeah, he was, and I'm not sure if he might have had some damage from the incident on lap 1. He did just stop, maybe. He used the qualifying setup and didn't have enough fuel. I'm not too sure, because it was only a 6-second stop for Jolly. So maybe he was fixing some damage or just topping up with some fuel. But This battle for 13th looks pretty interesting, as does this one. We've got Kevin Huang here in 4th position. Poon just ahead of him, but that man right behind Ryan Lamb, right on the back of him as they come into the chicane. Huang taking the smart line there, getting a good exit as they come around the final corner now. And they do have to take a lift in these cars, a slight one. Wong sets the fastest lap of the race, a 126.398. So that was about a 2/10 gain on Oliveira in 1st position. So Wong holding his own out at the front of the field, driver from Singapore. But let's see how Huang and Lam compare through this SS section to ride on board with Kevin Huang now. That's Alex Poon just ahead of him. This is one of my favorite sections of track on any circuit in iRacing. I think that down an uphill SS section, it's a lot of fun. You can take a lot of the curb, and it's the difficult braking zone for the first right-hander. The second right-hander is much sharper than you expect. Always end up out-braking yourself and running wide into the bit of grass runoff that there is there. Let's see Alex Poon taking the inside or the right side down the straight, trying to reduce any draft that Huang might get his hands on. And he's not going to be close enough to make a move this time by, but he has gained about a 1/10.5 just down the straight, and he's lifting and coasting into the corner. That is fuel saving in action. So Kevin Huang looking to go looking for the long game in this race for about 9 minutes through. And Wong has closed up a little bit to Oliveira as well. And another purple lap for Wong. Oliveira was faster, but it's not a purple lap, which tells me that Oliveira went off track on that lap.
Yeah, it's a couple places where it's easy to get an off track here. The corner that we're just going through at the crest of the hill there is one of them. So, but yeah, it's still Wong's still within a second, so still being able to apply the pressure to Oliveira. He hasn't been able to relax just yet. And with the lap times that we're seeing in the 26s, in the group behind, we're in the high 26s, low 27s as well. So we'll be quite surprised if they're able to maintain this pace for the next 35 minutes without having to make a trip down the lane.
They are setting a very fast pace, these drivers at the front. And like you said, that does leave them vulnerable to have to make a pit stop. You can see the intervals between each driver on the left-hand side. And it looks like the fairly big gaps are between 2nd and 3rd. That's a 5-second one. And then between Lam and Leong for 5th and 6th. That's a 7-second gap. The leaders really have to try and build up that gap if they're going to be racing each other, because it's going to use up a lot of their fuel. They're going to have to make a pit stop, I think. It doesn't look like they were fuel saving too much. And there is Huang in 4th position. He's got Ryan Lamb right on the back of him, only about 3/10 in it now.
Yeah, that's the thing with this close battle here with these three guys. If even though they may all have to stop with the lap times that they're doing, but if someone is able to save a little bit of fuel, the stationary time in the pit stop could be shorter, and they may be able to jump or clear a bigger gap on the cars they're fighting for position here. So remember, this is essentially at the moment the fight for the last position on the podium. So definitely worth fighting for. Plenty of points up for grabs. And we see Lamb's actually just gone for a move down into the entry of 6th there. Got that move done quite well. I think Kevin saw him coming and just opened the steering a little bit, make sure there was no contact. Yeah, I think Kevin just must have not had such a great run out of 5. So having a look here as they come down through the S's. Yeah, he missed the apex there at 3. And that probably didn't have the best momentum heading down into the S's, but I think here at 5 he's going to probably take a bit too much curb, or... it actually wasn't too bad, but Lamb just able to... Well, almost looks like he let him pass there on the replay.
I wouldn't be too surprised. He was fuel saving. Kevin Huang, he was fuel saving, and I think he might have just let him pass. He didn't want to battle. He wants to try and overtake him in the fuel stop because Lamb looks like he's really pressing on, trying to move up the order. And I feel like Huang might just try and use his draft and to try and pull him along, reduce his fuel usage, and try and jump him in the fuel stops if we get any. I'm not too sure if we're going to get any. Organized to say it was going to be close, but we don't really know how the leaders are doing. Wong has dropped back to 2 seconds now between him and Oliveira. I'm not sure what happened to him, or if he's just lost the draft and dropped back slowly over the last few laps. That was really close battle. Here we go with Jamal Gandor. That's Nurazam on the left-hand side of the screen now, trying to make a move on and down the straight. They're still side by side as they come around the right-hand entry towards the chicane. Gandor's going to have the inside for the chicane. They're still side by side as they come around the second part. And it's like Gandor's just had to drop back slightly. No, he's going for the inside into the final corner. Is he going to pull out of that one? No, he's not. And he has to just file behind. But there's Singer in the bright yellow and red car. He's now making a move on Gandor. So Gandor's going to lose out on 2 positions if he can hold it around the outside of turn number 1. No, he can't. He's going to have to drop back into 9th position.
Slower car there, just at the top of the hill as well. But yeah, that was good respectful driving from everyone there. Plenty of room being left. But yeah, this midfield is quite a few cars all within half a second or a second of each other here. Basically from 7th at Nurazam down to Lin in P12. So that sort of 7th to 12th train here is what we're looking at. A few drivers been able to make some good progress too. Leong in P6 has made 7 positions from where he started, and Casillas that we're watching there in P10, he's up 6 positions as well. Matthew Clowet in P14, he's up 6, as is Azrael Nasli in P15. So yeah, quite a few drivers been able to make up 6 or 7 positions during the race.
And then quite the opposite as well. We've got Arifin down 4 from where he started, Sanchez down 6, and Jolly unfortunately down 15 positions from where he started. He's sitting currently in 20th position. Here is a little bit of a train developing with Nurazam, Singer, Gandor, Tumgunran. We've also got Dane in 11th place and Lin in 12th place, also just behind them, closing in on this group as well. From the iRacing China community team, Wan Ling in that number 30 Porsche Cayman. You can see the train of cars ahead of him. That is looking like a good battle, going to develop fairly soon. He's taken a very fast entry speed, but that's compromised his exit slightly. Let's see how he goes for the straight. It looks like he's got a much better exit than Dane Knezik in 11th position. He's going to pull to the right hand side. Dane holding that inside line for the next corner. Remember, it is a left in the chicane to start off the lap, or to end off the lap. He's going to pull down, and it looks like Dane has just dropped back into 12th position, and he's made that move on the straight nicely. But it also looks like Arifin has joined onto the back of this one as well.
Yeah, it looked like Lin went just a little bit deep into 10 there, but he was still able to pull it up, and got a good run over the hill to pull a little bit of a gap as they head down around through 12 there. While we've been watching this battle, at the front, looks like Wong must have had a moment or two, because that gap at the front's gone out to 3.8, about 4 seconds now. So Oliveira has been able to break that rhythm that Wong had behind and stretch the gap away out to 4 seconds now. So unless Wong's just decided he wants to not worry about the lap time so much and just make sure he's going to be able to make it on fuel without the stop, If that's the case, then Oliveira might have to extend this gap a bit further to allow for the transit time through the lane and a short splash.
Be interesting to maybe ride on board with Oliveira next time he comes into that chicane. That's going to be one of the better areas to try and lift and coast to save some of your fuel. Be interested to see if he is saving fuel. I don't really think he is. Wong, maybe you're right. Maybe he has just started to fuel save a little bit. That would explain the 4.5 second gap that's now built up between them. As Leonardo in that number 33 car that he's dominated with so far this season.
Yeah, his last lap was a 26.25, and Wong did a 26.86, so about 6 tenths between them on that previous lap.
Yeah, he's been dropping off between a half a second and a second for the last 5 laps or so now. But just before that we can see on the graphic on the bottom of the screen, lap 6 or 7 maybe, he set the fastest lap of the race, did Eric Wong. So I think he must have just dropped off. It's not his pace that's suffering. I think he's dropped off for fuel saving, definitely. Got that lovely orange and yellow battle train happening between 7th and 11th. Also on the timing towers we can see there. And it definitely didn't look like Leonardo was fuel saving, but Eric Wong doesn't look like he's fuel saving either. And in the last couple of laps he's started to lose some time to Calix Poon as well, who's just about a second down the road from Eric Wong. He's got some lap traffic to contend with as well. Here's that train of cars I just mentioned. Are we going to see any moves? That's Gandor making a move on Singer into the chicane, and Gandor has made that move very nicely down the inside into the chicane, and he is up into 8th position.
Yeah, that was nicely done. Must have got a strong exit from turn 7 and through the kink at 8 and 9 there. Nice move under brakes. Well and truly alongside in the braking area, so wasn't much to contest there once he got it there. Looking at Matthew Cloet in P15, and he's trying to chase down Sanchez. As you can see, just a couple car lengths between them here. The previous lap, Matthew did a 20. Oh, he's just had a moment at the crest. Put the commentator's curse on him, unfortunately. He's done well to wait for the other cars to go past there to make sure he's rejoined safely.
He did well to get out of the other driver's way. I think he's just maybe overcorrected himself slightly there, and he's also just touched the grass, which didn't help him at all. Dropped back down to 17th position, did the Aussie. And looks like Sanchez has just got past him on the previous lap. There he is on the right hand side, getting past before the braking zone of the chicane at turn 10. And I think he's going to have his eyes set now, Sanchez, on the drivers in front.
Yeah, we did see Sanchez have some trouble early on in that first lap, so he'll be trying to do a bit of a recovery drive after that. He was about 6 tenths faster than Matthew on that previous lap, just before Matthew had that issue at the crest there at 3 and 4. And again, back to this midfield battle. It's kind of hard to look away for too long because these guys are definitely having a fun race here. See them plunging downhill through the S's here, then back up around turn 5, trying not to use too much of that curb on the inside because it can unsettle the car there. And this is Afrini and Lin side by side through 6, and again at 7. Afrini not able to get it done on the inside there, but going to tuck in behind, try and get the slipstream as they work their way up towards the chicane of 10A and 10B. So it's quite a unique track in how they name the corners here, because you kind of have the first 4 corners Oh, and he's able to get that move down the inside. Can he? Yeah, he's able to clear on the exit of 10B and head down and try and pull a gap and get back onto that train up ahead there. So Afrini making a good move there on that lap. Looking at Jali there with a nice move, and that was Patama, who just didn't quite hit the apex at turn 5 and had a bit of a slower exit there, which was able to set Charlie up for that move. Obviously, we saw him go down the lane earlier in the race after some troubles on the first lap, and so he should be fueled well and truly to the end without having to do any fuel saving.
Yeah, some differing strategies between all of the drivers, some trying to save that fuel and some of them just deciding to put their foot down and try and build up a big enough gap to try and overtake or do the overcut on the drivers saving fuel. Wong is back on the pace with a 126.1, and it looks like he's not fuel saving, so I'm not too sure why he's dropped back so far to Leonardo Oliveira. Maybe he tried fuel saving and decided it wasn't worth it, or maybe he's fuel saved enough already to get him to the end of the race and he's just decided, now I'm going to put my foot down.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, he doesn't have any pressure from behind. The gap to Poon is about 8 seconds, so there wasn't really any need to pick up the pace again as far as that goes. But yeah, that could be the case. So he may have decided in the middle section of the race that's where he wanted to do the fuel saving, so he could be a bit more aggressive later in the race when the car gets lighter. So we'll see how that plays out. Oliveira might still need to do a stop yet. And we're just looking at Sanchez here again, another one of those drivers that's trying to make his way forward after some earlier troubles. He's currently in P13, which is still 3 positions down on where he started. So still some work to do to try and at least break even in this race from where he started. This is Zhang and Nasli. Nasril's just getting a nice toe up the back stretch here, just inside 0.3 of a second behind now. This could be close enough to have a look if he's strong under brakes. We'll see if he's confident enough to try something. Not quite this time around.
He's very close. He is very close though, isn't he? Nasril on the back of Zhang there. They're overtaking Dane Knezik in the number 3 car. He's dropping down the order. He's making a pit stop about halfway through the race. We've got 20 minutes to go. 25 minutes gone. And we'll see now. He's not taking tyres. It looks like that was just a splash and dash for the Asian driver. I'm not entirely sure which country that's from. I don't recognize that flag. Maybe it's one of the Eastern countries, I think. And Wong is in the pit lane as well.
Okay, so it looks like there won't be many drivers able to fuel save enough. I think that's probably what they're finding now, is getting deep enough into the race to start. Oh, it's quite close there between Singh and Gandor heading into the chicane. Gandor was just able to pull it up in time to keep off the rear bumper there of Singh. So these guys definitely getting a bit feisty here, because I do have the other couple cars just behind, pretty keen to jump onto this. And unfortunately for Wong, he's going to come out right behind this battle, this train of cars. So he'll be praying that these other drivers are going to make a stop quite soon. Otherwise, he's going to have to. It's just not going to be enough committing to doing that short splash. Give him enough fuel so that they can be quite aggressive and attack towards the end of the race. Especially these guys in the midfield here, because it's very small gaps between some of these positions.
Yeah, Wong does have his work cut out for him. He's about a second behind that long train of cars. Here's Calix Poon was in third position. No, he wasn't. He was in fourth. And he is now dropping down the order as he takes his pit stop. More or less half an hour into the race. And I think it might be only a matter of time before we see the rest of the leaders, unless these drivers are just making their stops early, trying to make the overcut or the undercut even. But it actually looks like he was taking tires as well. That's a bit interesting.
And Charlie's still trying to make his way forward there. That was Nuzley just in behind. So Nuzley hasn't been through the lane. But yeah, Jazri and Charlie definitely went through the lane earlier in the race, so he should be good to go right through to the end. Oh, and we've got, is that Zhang just ahead, or is that a lap car?
That is Zhang.
Yeah, so a bit of a moment there on the exit of 5, got very, very wide, was bouncing up over that curb on the exit, and fortunately didn't get back on the power too early, because if you do get a bit over eager on that curb there, it can spit you straight onto the inside wall. With these cars with the new damage model, that can mean quite a hefty time loss with towing and repairs. Jali gets that move done quite easily. Zhang wasn't really putting up much of a fight there with a pretty poor exit from turn 7. So the first of the cars in the lineup that have stopped is currently Wong in P11. Riding on here with Ryan Lamb. He's currently P2, but 18 seconds down on Oliveira, so they're definitely not in the same race there. But Huang just behind. It's just a second between these guys, and neither have stopped. So this is a race for position here.
Just caught my eye on the timing tower. Looks like Norazam has just got past Singh, the 2 Malaysian drivers. And here they are. This is a huge train of cars going side by side. All sorts of stuff happening here. Norazam
Gandor
in front. Gandor making a move on Singh. And he's made that one stick. There's the rest of the cars. Oh, someone ran very deep there. I think that might have been Arifin. No, it wasn't. It was Eric Wong making his way onto the back of this train now. He just got past Lin. And he is now just about a second behind. Looks like Arifin's making a move on Tim Kunaron. Yes, he did. He did look down the inside. Norazam ahead of them. Oh, it looks like Norazam's made some kind of mistake because he was in 5th. And Gandor and Singh have both got ahead of him. None of these drivers have stopped, remember. So that's going to be interesting when they all decide to come into the pit lane to see where they come out. But Gandor looks like,
no.
Oh, someone's in the wall. No, they've managed to keep it out of the wall. No, I'm not too sure. They've got some damage. That's Tim Kunanon in the number 24 car. Some damage to the front right of that car. Looked like almost certainly heading into the wall.
Yeah, I believe there was some contact with the wall there, but able to thankfully hold it together and didn't get any snap oversteer after that moment. So this is Gandor trying to make the move down the inside, heading into turn 1, and then Singh following through.
Following right through. See what happened to Cassidy here as they come around the S's towards the top of the crest is where she went off. Let's see. Oh, all on her own. Just, oh, that's a pretty big contact there. I'm surprised he didn't lose the wing mirror on the right hand side. That's normally the first team to go on these cars, but that's still very much attached to the right hand side of Tim Cunningham's car. The
Actually
Thai
did quite
driver.
well to hold on to it there. Oh, side by side heading down into the S's. This is a great battle that these guys are having. I'm sure all the drivers involved in this midfield are thoroughly enjoying this race. Putting on quite a show for us, which is always good.
Gundor going very wide there, and that's allowed Nurazam to make the move around the outside. Oh, there's a driver spun. That's Wong. Big contact there. That's Arifin heading straight into the spinning car of Wong. That's just what Wong didn't need, isn't it?
Kind of commented on that before, that danger of the early stop putting him back behind this trainer after trying to make his way through. And it looks like there's just he was trying to come across to meet the apex, but Arifin was there. Probably need to see it from another angle to see if there was a big enough overlap.
I think that was Sanchez that ended up slamming into the back of Arifin, which caused the fairly hefty contact. It probably wouldn't have been as bad for Eric Wong, but there is Eric Wong. He's just alongside Arifin here. And yep, no, it's not Sanchez. Who's that?
That was the avoiding action from Arifin just earlier when Casitas hit the wall there on the exit of 5. So lots of action for Scott to try and cover here on the replays. So here we go, there's another angle, and you can see, yeah, a bit hard to see. So yeah, it was the 12 car which ploughed in there.
The 12 car, that is...
Oh no, that is Arifin. Yeah. Sorry.
I think it was Kayak's Poon that ended up slamming into the back of Arifin there. Here is Ryan Lamb. He's probably going to profit a bit. Ooh. A bit of a wiggle from Ryan Lamb at the top of the crest. He's got Kevin Wang just behind him. Olivier now with a 21.5 second lead over these drivers. None of the top few drivers have pitted on the timing tower. Eric Wong, I think it's the highest placed driver so far to have pitted, and he's down in 10th. And it looks like more drama for Arifin. He's off the track again.
He may be struggling with some damage to that car after that contact just before.
I think he might have just made contact with Zhang there, because Zhang's now off the track as well. Both of those drivers dropping down the order. Let's see what happened here. Cypher Arifin with a lot of damage.
It's a very second-hand looking Cayman there.
That is a that's a very damaged car. He's got on the grass and that car's not turning. I think most of the damage is from the front from here, where I think that is Kayak's Poon. That's huge contact there.
So yeah, better look at that incident there. You can see Arifin just not quite far enough down alongside. I don't think Wong was really anticipating that move, and yeah, unfortunately, some contact was made. So Olivier is still some 20 odd seconds out in front, cruising. Probably going to get to the point where if some of the drivers don't stop, he'll probably have a pit stop in hand anyway. Oh, and this is Norazam having a very awkward moment through turn 1, getting gobbled up by Lin and Wong and Tung Kanan. So yeah, I think that was about 3 spots there. in the blink of an eye. So yeah, it's, the mistakes are very heavily penalised when you are in a close battle like this.
Yeah, let's see a replay of that. Coming to turn number 1, I think he's just got a bit loose. Yeah, oh, missed his braking zone maybe, and that's, oh, he's done very well to keep that one out of the wall. Very easy for him to slam into that inside wall. He did well to control that one. There's Eric Wong getting past around the outside into the
it was actually
second corner.
Gandor that got through as well, so that was 4 positions. I think perhaps Gandor took a look down the inside and then might have got psyched out a little bit there and out onto the grey stuff out wide, just couldn't get the car turned. Ooh, it's going 3 wide. Wow,
Eric
that's
Wong, wow.
Wong very aggressive, trying to come through. Oh no! And Lin and is that Tim Cunningham?
Yep.
Yeah.
Both
So
turn
they
around.
just made contact in the second half of the chicane there, heading into the apex of 10B.
Here it is again. Oh, that's Norazam. You can see just ahead. Eric Wong goes down the middle. As you can see from Norazam's point of view, down the middle, overtaking both drivers ahead of him. That was a fantastic move. But then there, looks like Lin just cut across. Ooh. And Norazam did fantastically to avoid the spinning car of Tim Cunningham on there. That was a good job by Amit. And he is now up into 8th position. And there's Ryan Lam with Kevin Huang just behind. And I think these guys are going to have to pit soon. There's only 6 laps left of the race. Maybe they've managed to save enough fuel between them to make it to the end.
I'm not sure about Lamb, but we have definitely seen evidence of Kevin doing the fuel saving with significant lift and coast heading down into turn 10. And he's quite cleverly been putting his car in behind another car for a majority of the race. We did actually see Kevin lift a little bit earlier to let a car through, and see a bit of a lift heading down through the S's there as well. Leong and Singh have just both peeled into the lane, so some of these late stops are going to play out now in the last 5 minutes or so of the race. But yeah, if either of these two are going to make it, I would say that Kevin would be the one that most likely to get there on fuel. So just seeing the most saving from any of the onboards that we've looked at from him, and that was right from early in the race.
Oliviera from the lead of the race with a 24-second advantage has made his way onto the pit lane with 5 minutes to go. Let's see how Ryan Lam and Kevin Huang do. See if they can catch up. There is Ryan Lam, and he makes his way onto the pit lane as well. It's a very tricky entry to the pit lane, very easy to bin it on the close walls. And Kevin Huang stays out. He's only going to have a couple more opportunities to pit if he's going to. And he comes out just about 2.5 seconds behind Oliviera. So Oliviera retains the lead of the race. Kevin Huang moves up into 2nd position, but now Oliviera is going to have what looks like, I'm not too sure who they are actually. It looks like Dane, Knezik, and maybe Pratama as well. This is going to slow him down a little bit, flashing his headlights.
Those guys are fighting over P14 and 15. So Oliviera pretty keen to make his way through there, because he's a little bit concerned that Kevin may not be doing a stop, and that gap's come down to 2 seconds there. You see Kevin in the rear shot there, and he'll be trying to tack on to Knezik in the red and white. Came in there to try and get a bit of a draft heading down the straight here. Probably not going to catch them early enough to get it done at the end of this lap. Kevin will be hoping he can get it done before they head up through the sort of 2, 3, 4 complex and the S's, because it's very difficult to make your way through there. It's multi-class racing around this track. It's very, very challenging in that first sector. It's quite hard for the faster cars and the slower cars to work together in that sector. And this is down in our battle for 10th. So Charlie in 10th. He's got Lin and Tunkonon in front. So P8, 9, and 10. So Charlie has managed to make quite a bit of progress from that earlier incident and the early stop, but still down 5 positions on where he started. Well, he's just looks like just almost about to pick one of those positions up. Still looking down the inside, and when he gets one as Lin decides to peel into the lane, and Gandor is in the lane as well, so he might make up another position there. You can see Gandor's just in the lane, just exiting there now. So Tunkonon and Charlie able to make that jump over Gandor there. Looks like Singh's been able to get through on him as well, so the late pit stop not working out so well for Gandor.
Wong has moved back up into 4th position after the pit stops, and judging by the gap between him and Kevin Huang, I'm not too sure if he would be able to get that move or get that position back from Kevin Huang, even if Huang pitted. I don't think he will though, because there's only 1 minute and 10 seconds left of the race. Oh, who's that?
And there's an incident at the entry. It looks like someone
Pratima.
may have had a failed pit entry.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
and that's exactly what's happened.
Oh, and he's managed to come right back onto the circuit, managing to find that gap. Oh, and he's stuck in that little gap there. This is a bit of an Austin Powers moment. Let's see what happened on board of 30 and Pratama in that number 10 car. Like I said earlier, it's a tricky pit entrance. You can see how it snakes and there's grass on either side. That's what he's done. He's got on the grass. And then he's just stuck himself in that little gap there, and he is Austin Powered that came in.
That would have been a very, very unusual incident if he made it through that gap and collected a car heading around the last corner.
That would have been, yeah, very interesting. Imagine being that car.
So it looks like this is Oliviera coming around. I'm not sure what this looks like. I think this is the checkered flag.
It is the final lap.
Checkered flag. Fantastic drive from Oliviera. Extended that lead early on, and celebratory flash to the lights there. It comes across the line, ends up with about a 4-second lead over Kevin Huang, who was able to make the race without stopping. So a great strategy from Kevin there. And Lamb a few seconds behind here, just going through the final chicane, coming up to complete the podium. Ryan stopped, so no need to worry about fuel for him to get across the line. Looks like we do have a couple of cars perhaps going a little slowly on this last lap. They might have pushed it a little bit too far. I think that's Norazam that was just behind in the shot there, going very, very slowly on this final lap.
Oh yeah, not sure if he's lifting and coasting to try and make it round, or if he's run out of fuel. He's going to struggle up the hill if he has.
Yeah, well, he hasn't made a pit stop, so he's obviously not saved quite as well as Kevin has.
Right behind him as well.
Yeah, can he hold on? The line is quite early. I think he's just going to be able to hold on to that 9th position. Sanchez comes across in 10th. Now Gandor parking his car quite creatively straight after the line.
Oh, Cassidus, I'm pretty sure pitted.
Yeah, definitely
so must have not got enough fuel in that pit stop.
Pitted on lap 30, so
only just gonna make it.
Yeah, that's an odd one. Pitted on lap 30, very close to the end of the race, and just mustn't have taken on enough fuel. A little bit too eager to get out of the lane. So yeah, a bit of an eventful end to the race there with some differing strategies. A couple of drivers struggling on fuel, but yeah, I think Kevin definitely had one of the drives of the race there. Still only up 2 positions on where he started, but it all came down to that strategy at the end there to jump Wong and Lamb. We'll be able to bring you the results in a moment.
Just with Kevin Wang, he almost managed to overtake Oliveira as well with the pit stops, and here are the results. Oliveira, of course, winning the race by 4.5 seconds with Kevin Wang in second. We've got Ryan Lamb, Eric Wong, Calix Poon, Jazreen Ajali, Kelvinder Singh, and we've got Jamal Gandor, Ahmad Nurizam, and Simon Sanchez rounding out the top 10. And we've got Yang Shi Ling and Tim Kunaron in 12th position. That's the last driver to make it on the same lap as the leader. Then we've got Dane Knesnik, Wai Yin Long, we've got Azrael Nuzli, Matthew Clert, and we've got Irsiad and Pratama in the top 18. All these drivers are lap down. Then we've got Zhang Tianjian Singer in 20th position, 2 laps down. Also 2 laps down is Mark Lang. Then we've got Arifin 6 laps down, not finishing the race. Felipe Choi 15 laps down, not finishing the race. Aaron Mitt 18 laps down in 24th. And then we've got Leong in 25th, 22 laps down, and Hazim got 26th position. Looks like they retired on the opening lap of the race.
So yeah, quite a few movers through the field there. One driver that we didn't mention a great deal of, Tenku Israd, I believe that was a 7-position gain during the race. Started like towards the rear field, but was able to sort of get into the tail end of that mid-pack battle at the end. So just a bit of a shout out there. But yeah, Choi in that early incident, that was one of the sort of the bigger disasters of the race, finishing in 23rd with that early retirement, and that was down 16 positions on where Felipe lined up, so we are quite disappointed with that one.
Yeah, most of the drivers gaining positions, though. Only a few of them lost out. Eric Wong, very unfortunate for him. Obviously riding along nicely in second position, pitted early, bit of a gamble from him, and it really didn't pay off. He got stuck behind that big train of cars, and that really cost him a lot of time, as well as the incident between himself and Arifin, who didn't finish the race with the damage he collected. In an incident, he had to pit and retire from the race with 6 laps to go. We'll see if we can get some interviews for you in just a few moments' time. Here's a replay of something.
Looks like, yeah, we've got Calix has joined us here in the commentary booth. Welcome, Calix. A pretty strong top 5 result for you tonight, but unfortunately you lost a couple of positions on your starting position. How was the race for you from your perspective?
Yeah, it was all right. Like, because I know this track for the GT4 was pretty hard. Like, it's quite tail happy. Like when the tires aren't like warmed up. So the first few laps been quite cautious. So I lost quite a bit of time to Eric. And then I saw like midpoint, I saw Eric pit it, and I just took gamble and I pitted as well. Maybe just to react with that. Maybe trying to get ahead of it. But I messed up in the pit lane. I changed the front 2 tires and then didn't change the rear, which I lost like 10 seconds there. And then when I come out of the pits, it's just really hard to get the balance, like the grip level of the front tires and the rear. It's really hard to just didn't crash. Like it's pretty hard to not crash like the first 2 laps or so. And then yeah, it's just, and then a little bit of traffic just kind of caused it to finish in P5. I think I do have the pace to challenge for the podium, but it's just, yeah, strategy didn't work.
Yeah, there was that really fierce battle in the midfield, and we were a little bit puzzled when Wong did peel in for that stop quite early, because it was pretty clear he was going to come out behind that train. and then you did follow in on the same lap or the lap after. So, and we just obviously that didn't play out probably to the way Eric wanted. He was trying to carve his way through there, but then we saw that incident heading down into turn 6. Looked like you had a pretty close moment there as you came through as well. How did that look from your perspective?
Which one is it? Like one a driver that spun on like the curb, like before the blind corner.
Yeah, on the right hand, down on the far end of the track.
That was I have to like lift off a little bit, but it didn't really affect. At that point, I think Simon overtook me because of the tires that I messed up. So yeah, it wasn't a big problem for me at that moment.
No worries. Well, congratulations on the top 5 finish, even though may not have been the podium that you were aiming for, but still a solid result and some good points. And next round is heading to Donington. What are your thoughts on that track? Are you confident there?
I bought the track. I haven't driven a single lap on it, but let's see. I'm pretty decent like learning new tracks. For example, Snetterton. So yeah, I think let's see. I don't know because I haven't driven a single lap on it in it. So yeah, we'll see how I go, I guess.
No worries. All good luck as we head into that one, and we look forward to catching up with you hopefully in the interview booth again after the future round. I think the final broadcast is Interlagos, so we'll see how you go in that one, and hopefully we get to have a chat to you after that one as well. Cheers.
Yep.
Cheers.
All right, that was Calix Poon, our 5th place driver, and we now have in the commentary box Jamal Gandor. Welcome.
Hello, how are you guys?
We're doing very well. You gave us some great racing, finishing
Yeah.
in 6th position, but how was that race for you? It must have been pretty intense.
Well, it was like busy all the time. I tend to like call this car the GT4 the frog among my team because it likes to bounce a lot, and that's a little bit funny. But preparing this car is always tricky, and in the races, for some reason, whenever I tend to push, it's always on the limit and just beyond it, so it tends to slip. So pace-wise, we would have like finished P5 easily, but you know you have to keep the consistency high. But for the audience and for me in the cockpit, that was really intense and nice at the same time.
Yeah, definitely, and it gave us some great racing to watch as well. The leaders were pretty far away from each other, so thank you for that. Next round, next week, not on the broadcast, is at Donington. Have you done any practice laps around there?
Not yet, because nowadays with iRacing, every car and track combination is as if you're trying new sim, basically. So we will try to practice as much as we can. I like the circuit. I visited it in real life, so why not try and build up a pace for it?
That's great. And then in 2 weeks' time, the final round of the season, and also the next broadcast round is at Interlagos. Have you got any experience driving at that one?
Well, a little bit. It's going to be interesting with all the swiping, the elevation changes with the GT4 and how it reacts on the front axis and the rear axis when you need like sudden direction changes or long sweeping corners. So it will be interesting.
It certainly will. Well, Gandor, thank you for joining us in the commentary box. Before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Of course, I would like to thank you guys for doing all the efforts of the commentary and doing it the SRA GT4 season looking even better. And I would like to thank Mark Lang, the Sim Racing Asia, all who's responsible for this series, as well as I would thank Simsa and my buddies at Simsa, including Peter Clavete. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary box, and we hope to see you back for another interview in just a few weeks' time.
All right. Cheers.
Thank you, Jamal. Okay, that was Jamal Gandor, 8th place in the end of the race. Well, Brad, that is it for us. Do you have any final comments?
Pleasure to come and help out on the Sim Racers Asia series. Haven't called this one before, and great track combination with this car, and that midfield battle was thoroughly entertaining. So it was a pleasure to come and have a look and help bring it to the audience. Hopefully they enjoyed it, and I'll be keeping an eye out for the finale to see how it all plays out.
That's going to be very interesting to see. Well, that is it from us at Apex Racing TV for round number 7 of Sim Racers Asia GT4 series. Be sure to join us in 2 weeks' time for the final round, round number 9, where we might just crown Leonardo Oliveira the champion after 9 rounds. That's at Interlagos. We hope you join us then. But for now, from me, Brad, and from Scott and everyone else at Sim Racers Asia and Apex Racing TV, we thank you for watching and wish you a good night and happy racing.